Welcome to Legal Innovation Spotlight, the podcast that brings you the latest advancements in legal tech and knowledge management. I'm Ted Theodoropoulos, and I connect with the industry's brightest minds to provide you with valuable insights and actionable takeaways. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Mark, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Ted. How are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you joining me this morning. You and I had a real brief chance to speak at TLTF in Miami, and you were very gracious with your time, which I certainly appreciate. And we've been longtime partners with Elite Integration Partners.
Yep.
So shared some feedback with you, and you listened and spent some time, and I really appreciated that.
So my pleasure. So great to be here, and thanks for inviting me, Ted.
Of course. I think a lot of people are going to be interested to hear what we're going to talk about today, which is, you've had a real interesting 10 months, almost 12. And before we jump into that agenda, though, I want to talk a little bit about your background and give you a chance to introduce yourself. Just looking at your LinkedIn, it looks like you were in the military for a little while. It looks like you did some PI work, LexisNexis, Walters Kluwer, and then it looks like you might have went to McGraw-Hill and then came back to legal. So, tell us a little bit about your background and how you fell back into the legal vortex.
The legal vortex. It's a little like coming home. I'm glad to be here. It's been a great 10 months. Yeah, I've had the road probably less traveled in terms of my career. So yes, you could probably tell from my accent, not originally from the US, although I've lived here and I'm now a US citizen for the last 20 years. So I call home in the northeast of the US. So yes, I did spend a little bit of time in the British military as a British Army officer. And then, about, I want to say 25 years, I'm very old, 25 years ago, I got into legal. So those of us of a certain vintage, and I'm probably of that vintage, have a .com in us. And mine was online government forms for free. And the biggest customers for that were law firms. And so that business was actually acquired by Reed Elsevier, who owned LexisNexis at the time. And so I spent a bit of time at Lexis in legal, really understanding really how to apply technology to a business that really was going through a bit of a transformation in Web 1.0 back in those days. And we'll probably come back to revisit that theme. And then, as you say, I came to the US, and then I spent about 8 years at Walters Kluwer as CEO of their legal business in North America, which was fun. Really helping build that great legal and regulatory business that's there. And then took a little bit of a left turn to McGraw-Hill Education, an education business, and really helping with our private equity sponsors take a really storied American brand and transition it from being largely a textbook publisher to really being a company that sold educational software over about a 5-year period. So that was a fun journey. Not all me. I was part of a team that helped do that. And then I spent a little bit of time as a public company CEO at a company called S3. Listed in London, but it's a global company that does staff augmentation for white-collar life sciences, technology, and engineering talent globally. Navigated that through COVID, which was an interesting experience of taking a people business through COVID, and then this great opportunity with Elite cropped up, and the call of getting me back to legal was interesting. But really, through all of those periods, it was really around businesses that are going through some kind of transition, and you can imagine Elite's going through a little bit of a transition. I'm sure we'll talk about it right now, and also really helping apply technology to really add value to customers in the marketplace in really new and exciting ways. And that's really what gets me excited. And so through that Web 1.0 and, getting, information and solutions in the hands of law firms in different ways, all the way through to where we are now in Elite, it's really, helping our customers really gain the advantage of technology as it becomes available. That's really what gets me excited.
So how did they find you for this role at Elite? Now I notice you've got some time in higher ed at McGraw-Hill, and I if I'm not mistaken, Zach Posner had spent some time there, and I met you at TLTF. Is there any connection there, or was that completely no dots to connect
No,
there?
I know Zach very well. We worked together closely at McGraw Hill Education. Zach's a great guy, and we worked together as he helped think about how we use adaptive software in learning. So it was an interesting time when we worked together there.
Gotcha. And then how did you end up with Elite? How did that actually come about?
Well, through a network, it's like all great stories. A phone call out the blue is there's this great opportunity. Would you, chat to the team at our sponsor? Look to the opportunity with Elite. As we think about it, closing and coming out of Thomson Reuters. And what do you think of this business? Obviously, I'd known about it when I was in legal before. I didn't compete directly against Elite, but obviously was aware of it. It's a story, another storied brand within, certainly within the legal industry and certainly within law firms, and has a really impressive track record over multiple decades of being a leader in the space, and an opportunity to, really focus it as it came out of Thomson Reuters as an independent company, and think about the opportunities for the future. So I was excited to come back, an industry I knew relatively well, although been out of it for a decade. So I'm relearning a lot of things within legal, and excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, yeah, so let's talk about that spinoff. So since the TPG acquisition, so it's been just under a year, if I'm recalling right. It's been about 10 months. Is that right?
Yeah, so June 1st, 2023. So
Uh,
what's that, 9, 10 months, something like that. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so what was the strategy with the spinoff? Like, making Elite an independent kind of PE owned entity. What was the strategy behind that?
So look, Thomson Reuters have been great stewards of the business for a couple of decades that they'd owned it. And getting Elite to be an independent company, given that we focus on financial management and business operations, is a little bit different than the complete focus of the Thomson legal business, which is much more on solutions for lawyers around that, but actually how you run the law firm was a focus for Elite. So a real opportunity to have it stand alone and really focus on that every day. So really understand, how do we delight our law firm customers? How do we focus on what the innovation is required to continue to innovate, and making sure we've got all of our people and our talent in place to support that as we move forward. So those kind of were the three things that we saw, that just a real relentless focus on our customer and innovation around the core elements of helping run the financial management and business operations of a law firm.
Interesting. And so in that time, really what has come out in terms of opportunities since the acquisition and since you've become independent from TR? Like, what initiatives, opportunities has that independence enabled?
So we've been a bit busy as we've carved out of TR. So the basics are really standing up an independent company, getting our new headquarters in New York City, which is where we are. Really getting an understanding of where the business, where our value proposition really is, and how do we build that into the vision and our strategy for the future. So really building on multiple decades of expertise that we have to really drive it moving forward. And then you may or may not have seen, we launched our new brand and look and feel that really reflects us as an independent company and really the rich history we have as a leader in legal technology, and really focus on what that means. And then thinking about where we're going to innovate and where our focus should be, putting our customers really at the center of what we do, because we really do sit at the heart of successful law firms helping accelerate their business. And so the focus has really been a little bit about getting back to basics and understanding where we are and building on that rich history and the capabilities that we have to be able to deliver that moving forward.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's been some organizational changes, and you're really kind of focusing in. I saw you hired a few new leaders in the organization. One being a chief customer officer, and how is that role specifically going to impact your clients?
So as we think about the business moving forward, and putting the customer really at the center of everything we do, and as we move and evolve to becoming a SaaS provider from being an on-prem software company, the new chief customer officer role really is on helping transform that overall customer experience through our services group in delivery and support, but also have an operations team that spans across all of the processes, technology, and tools to make sure that we really complete that customer journey. So we do the service part at the end of SaaS, as well as the software bit that we're known for at the front of SaaS. And so we got, a delivery team really focusing on how we make sure we get our customers up and running on our software as quickly as possible, and with new approaches in terms of how we do that. And our support team's really thinking about what it means to be a SaaS company and make sure that we're supporting our customers in the right way. So that chief customer officer kind of has that soup to nuts experience for the customer in terms of delivery, operations, and support overall.
Okay. And have there been, since your independence took place, have there been any new insights into the needs of law firms that you feel like Elite is uniquely positioned to capitalize on? So much has changed over, this has been a really interesting time. I've been in legal technology for about 15 years, and I've never experienced such a
Yep.
shift in perspectives. And, I would imagine that shift has impacted your business in some way and created new opportunities.
Yep.
What does that look like?
So if you think about what we're seeing from the market, it'd be great to get your insight as well, Ted. You're working hard inside law firms as well in a slightly different frame. But what we are certainly seeing is law firms are dealing with changing marketplace forces, so shifting margins, rising costs, more focus from their corporate clients in terms of what they will and won't pay for, and more sophistication on what they will and won't pay for. So really pressing law firms in terms of how they add value. New client expectations on how law firms should be engaging with them, and certainly their technology usage in terms of what the value add is beyond just legal advice and the delivery of a transaction or management of a case. And then a tight talent market, a new workplace dynamic. So I talked a little bit about leading a people business through COVID, but that's the same in terms of expectations of new law firm associates going into a law firm, right? They don't want to be tied to the desk, just billing hours at a desk for 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day. But how do they do remote work? How do they have the expectation of the right tools to work? And so that's what there's a lot of forces on them, and as a result, law firms are evolving really around the way that they work, and really putting more focus on how do they optimize resource allocation, like streamlining and automating processes to drive efficiency in the operations of a law firm so that they can manage their costs more effectively. How do they think about security, mitigating risk, protecting themselves against increased cyber attacks or new threats? And as you get new leaders in law firms that are more used to thinking about how do they use data and analytics to really help drive decision making in law firms in a way that certainly a decade ago when I was in legal, they weren't. That's not how law firms largely made decisions. They weren't the most data driven decision makers, but that's certainly the new generation of leaders in law firms are thinking much more around what tools do they use, which practice areas should they really focus on, and using analytics to help them. So those are the insights that we're seeing, and that's how we believe, given that we have multiple decades of really understanding how to automate a lot of business operations and the financial management of firms, that we can really add value across a lot of those.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a renewed focus on the importance of data and data hygiene with the advent of AI. And my take on this is law firms have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Their data's a mess, and it has been for a really long time. And I spent 10 years in financial services, very different paradigm in terms of data and how data is managed. Law firms have some catching up to do, and I have seen implementations of Elite. So we're integration partners, so we tap into all the back office systems and expose that system of record data in unified ways. And
Yep.
I have seen customization that bordered on bastardization of platforms, Elite included, that really made it challenging for an integrator to come in and wire everything up. And that is going to hold true whether it's InfoDash coming to build some integrations for purposes of intranet or extranet, or you're throwing a large language model at your data sources. Yep. There's a lot of data hygiene, and I think law firms are finally starting to see why it's important, but we got a lot of cleanup to do from where I sit. Do you agree?
It varies depending on the firm, obviously, but I think there's certainly an increased sensitivity to the outcome that they're looking for, and that means that. So if I think of our customers that are moving to the cloud, for example, they're seeing that as an opportunity to help drive a lot of transformation across the firm. So it's not just a new technology. It's also about, here's an opportunity to rethink the ways in which we work. Do we really need that customization, or can we have this work, move in this way? If I want to have, data visualization to help drive decisions this way, well, we know we need to operate differently, and our data needs to be stored, managed, and delivered in a very different way than perhaps we had in the past. And I think there's also a recognition that the law firm and the people in the law firm may not be the best people to manage a lot of the component parts of that process in a way where they were, very focused on, having a bit of a walled garden around how they operate within their firm. So we are seeing that as we move to the cloud, there's this shift around. We can also use this as an opportunity with new tools for new ways of thinking and new ways of delivering, which is great because it does offer that opportunity in a way that traditional software doesn't.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the shift in perspective on this. I'm a data guy. I used to be on the SQL Server team at Microsoft. I'm a data guy by nature, and concepts like master data management that you would see as fundamental or foundational in many industries, that really didn't get as much traction. But now we're starting to see a kind of a renewed emphasis. And I'm speaking generally. There are many exceptions to that, of course, but we're excited to see it. It makes our job much easier when data is consistent and correct, and there's one source of the truth. So yeah, I have hope that things are going to move swiftly in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, we certainly think so too. So that's we're certainly seeing that now.
Yeah. Well, and when I read about the transaction to spin you guys off, it wasn't a complete sale. So TR maintained a stake in the business, did they not?
Yeah, so they have a minority stake,
Hmm.
but as of when we closed, 1st of June last year, we're an independent company, and
Yeah.
that's which is great.
How involved are they in the business? Even as a minority stakeholder, I would imagine there's still some semblance of um, participation. At what level does that take place?
Um, we're an independent company, so they're a minority, stakeholder in the business, and we are focused on driving our own strategy. Obviously, they're supportive of us um, because they have a stake in the business and they want us to be successful. But they recognize that you know there was a reason that we wanted to be independent, and there's a value to us being independent. So how do we, drive our own strategy and move forward? But they're
Yeah.
supportive, and we've got a good investor there.
Good. Well, that's a perfect segue into what is the strategy going forward. It's you've got you had a recent rebrand that you mentioned that was very dramatic. Looks really neat and modern. Is this just a rebrand, or is this really kind of a shift in corporate identity and strategic direction? How what does that look like?
So we spent a lot of time, so as I said, over the last 10 months, really thinking about what's our value proposition? How do we add value? Where do we have a right to play in? Who are we as an independent elite? And the branding and the logo really is a visual metaphor for our vision of who we want to be as a standalone SaaS business at the heart of the most successful law firms accelerating their business. And it really reflects a heightened commitment to delivering cutting edge digital financial solutions to our customers, thinking about powerful data, advanced insight, intuitive tools, all in one platform. So if I think about our broad vision moving forward, it is to be at the heart of those law firms, but it's really around, how do we support them with an open platform focused on data and helping support new ways of accessing that information and accessing those tools using modern technology like AI when it becomes available, which means that there's a big push for us to move our customers to the cloud. And that's very exciting for us, exciting for our customers as they're getting access to those new tools, and an opportunity for them to rethink how they operate as well.
Yeah, so the transition to the cloud, that's an interesting topic, and one I think we were a little early to the game pushing cloud. So this is 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, when SharePoint 2013 came out, which is the host platform upon which our product is built. We used to be
Yeah.
consultants, and I remember doing road shows in 2013, and the title was what's new for legal, and in the new release, and we talked about the cloud, and we were 10 years too early. Honestly, firms now are just now, the AmLaw space is just now moving in earnest to the cloud, right? The first step in the M365 journey to the cloud is typically messaging. You're going to put
Yep.
Exchange in hybrid mode. Maybe you'll do a full cloud migration, and then the other components like workflow, collaboration, SharePoint. And our timing was great. We've been very fortunate. It's amazing how long it's taken, and we're thrilled to see it finally happening in earnest. Like, it's really happening now. Which there were
Yep.
several moments in time where I thought, "Hey, this is really happening," and it wasn't. There were one or two early adopters, but now they are really moving in mass, which is great. But how has the transition to 3E Cloud been for you? Have you met resistance on, because there still are firms, I know of at least 5 in the AmLaw space that still have a hard line on cloud. What's it been like for you?
So it's interesting. So Ted, a slight diversion. So I'm old enough to remember when I was in the Web 1.0, when cloud and SaaS used to be called ASP, and so all of our solutions were um, in the cloud, as we call it right now. But in terms of resistance, look, when I started back in legal, so June last year. 2 weeks after that, we had our user conference in London. So I met a bunch of our customers there. And it would be fair to say there were certainly those who were still skeptical of the cloud, and those that call themselves cloud curious, but they weren't committing to going there. And look, I understand, law firms by their very nature and given what they do tend to be more conservative in their decision making, particularly around making big platform shifts. And if you think about what we deliver as that system of record on the economic value of the firm, obviously we're a pretty big decision for a law firm to make. But today, there's more and more firms are deciding to move to the cloud, and most firms, with a few exceptions, and even those that have that hard no, in a quiet moment, they'll be talking about when they're going to move to the cloud, not
Right.
if they're moving to the cloud. And we're certainly seeing strong adoption of 3E cloud from our customers, and the momentum's growing. So if I think of our customers on our 3E platform, about a fifth of our customers have already signed up to go to the cloud. Of that fifth, I would imagine about 75% of them will be live by the end of this year. And 100% of all the conversations about platform sales that we're talking about right now are cloud. We don't have any new platform conversation about someone moving to 3E as a new platform that is on-prem. It's all about going to the cloud. And so that's really what we're focused on.
Yeah, and I would agree that, it's been law firm clients that have driven a lot of this cloud aversion, and we have a pretty big AmLaw client that's coming our way, and they finally, we just had lunch with them at Legal Week, and they finally told their last financial services customer that was kind of holding them back, we're going. And,
Yep.
we'd love to keep your business, but we're going. And so I agree with you. I feel like things are, even the hard no's aren't quite as hard as they used to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny about, the corporate clients. So we have another great cloud product, our e-billing hub, that is that's been in the cloud, that engages with the corporate clients who have, billing analysis tools. They're also have always been in the cloud.
Oh,
And
100%.
so it's kind of interesting. So we process with e-billing hub over 48 million invoices. So it will happen, because you can't get the scale and accuracy and new technology without being able to move and utilize that technology in the cloud.
Yeah. There's no AI on-prem, very, very little,
No,
right? You got to be in the
it's a
cloud.
little it's a little tricky.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have ambitions outside of legal? I mean, are you still squarely focused, or are you looking outside of the legal vertical?
So right now, we're focused on the law firm market and in legal. That's the core. That's the core of our business. That's what we understand, really well in terms of how law firms operate. Now, historically, Elite has always had somewhere between 5 and 10% of our customers have been non-legal, either in other professional services or some government. And where we can support them, we'll continue to do that. But our focus right now is really fair and square on the law firm market that we're really excited about, as we see law firms adopt new technology in ways that perhaps they haven't in the past, and we think there's a great opportunity for us to support them in that journey. So I think that's really where we are. Over time we'll have a look, but right now that's where our focus is.
Makes sense. What about, we mentioned AI. What sort of opportunities exist? I think I saw an article about some time capture that you guys were doing. What sort of opportunities or plans for integrating AI into your platform are there?
Yeah, so AI is interesting and it's great. We got, I don't know how many minutes into this without focusing on AI, which, we got
30.
time every technology conversation with AI. So I think first of all is we have a pretty clear approach as to how we think about AI, which is we see it as a really valuable tool, really around two things that AI today does really, really well. So one, it simplifies complex processes and really helps with the user interface into technology in a more quote unquote human way. So it makes life easier for people to interact with technology, and give them back time for higher value work. And then the second thing AI is really, really good at is classification of unstructured data at scale in a way that's hard to do with other things. So if we approach knowing that AI does those two things really well, then that's really how we think about how do we apply those tools in specific places that adds the most amount of value for the law firm. So one, and there's an example of this, would be that time capture. So really around narratives, around work in time capture, we use the OpenAI API, get my words right around that, to be able to integrate with that. What we can do is understand where the timekeeper is in the process of what type of work they've done. And we can match that with outside counsel guidelines so that the narrative description of the work they've done, we can have the AI build that so a human doesn't have to key it in. Now, the human can accept or edit or reject it, but it gives a huge amount of time back. And just that one little thing has given hours and hours of billable hours back to timekeepers. And the one thing we know from study after study is if I can give time back to a fee earner, they will fill that with billable hours. And so that's a huge advantage for the law firm. And then on the unstructured data, what we launched last year with our e-billing hub actually was rejections from corporate billing analysis systems that tend to come back in rather verbose, unstructured data. And what the AI does is it takes that and then organizes it into structured categories of rejections that somebody can go through in a much more meaningful way rather than have to navigate through that. And so those are two examples of how we're doing it. We've got a lot of stuff coming in, but we've already integrated AI into our platform. And since our platform is cloud native, we can access OpenAI's APIs. We can embed natural language search. We can automate, as I say, labor intensive and error prone tasks like that, entering in narratives. And then we can really think about how we leverage bots to replace time consuming and routine business processes, which will be the next set of, here's the mundane things that you want to automate that really give people back time. So you elevate the human as much as you can. So we're very excited about it, but we think about it very much as a tool set to be applied thoughtfully.
That makes sense. So what other trends are you seeing in legal tech in 2024? So you've been back at it for 10 months. I imagine things look very different than when you left. Like what other trends do you see happening for the remaining 10 months of the year?
So three things really that I touch on a little bit. One is increasing adoption of cloud-based solutions. So I think, law firms recognize that you've got better security if you're cloud native than if you've got your security guy around the corner trying to manage your stack all the time on your security.
100%.
The importance of being able to work it anywhere using reliable modern technology is also pretty critical, particularly for the talent that they want. The second thing really is a growing emphasis on managing legal costs and embracing automation. So it's not a new thing, but because there's almost this arms race between the corporate client and the tools that they have to manage costs, the law firms are having to really think about how do we improve performance and efficiency, and technology's got to be a key lever that unlocks a lot of that process streamlining and productivity drive. And then the last thing that we talked about, and we could probably talk for hours given your background, is on the adoption of analytics. So how do you actually get the data in the right way to get access to the right data, analyzing the right data, visualizing the right data in a way that helps you make more informed decisions for the firm around resource deployment, cost control, or even business opportunities. So should we go into this practice area or that practice area? So those really are the three things that we're seeing that we're excited about, that we think we can add real value.
Yeah. Well, when you and I first spoke, I had brought up I had started the conversation relative to partnership. And, that is,
I remember
yeah.
in a very positive way, Ted.
Right, right. Well, as vendors, it's all over the board, but in fact, I just had a conversation this morning with a DMS vendor who they're great, but there's always room for improvement. And I had a very candid conversation with them, and they have plans to kind of help promote and create visibility for the partners in the ecosystem who are, we're doing important work that benefits them too, right? Which is, which is, we're making your solutions more sticky, right? The law firms are
Mm-hmm.
investing when we build integrations. They're investing in your platform by doing that and creating more places for the attorneys, the timekeepers, the staff to consume the information, right? Which is good for everybody. It's good for us as as a ISV. It's great for you as a system of record. But and practice management is one of the key. Like, we don't do an implementation without there being that integration. It just doesn't happen.
Yep.
Documents and financial data happen 100% of the time. So, what I'd love to hear kind of what you see on the partner strategy going forward. What does that look like for Elite? Is status quo? Do you guys have plans for additional opportunities? What does it look like?
So I think one of the great opportunities we have of being an independent company is really thinking about where our value lies, and how we operate within the larger legal tech ecosystem. And as I said, we sit at the heart of the law firm, and we don't do it all, right? We have to integrate with a whole bunch of other software vendors or solution providers or service providers that actually do other things for the law firm. That's to the benefit of the law firm and everyone in that ecosystem. And I think it'd be fair to say we've not always been as good as we could be in terms of that. So as I think about us moving forward, we're certainly going to make sure that we make it easier around the legal ecosystem to be able to integrate with where we are. Now, we already have, so for integration points, we already have a pretty robust set of RESted APIs. So our API library is pretty robust around every other part as a way of integrating into that. And of course, as we move to the cloud, that's critical to make sure that we do that. And we will be working on a bunch of integrations that will come out of the box that will be easier for people to do that. But I think there's also an economic incentive that we need to make sure that we're easy to work with all of the partners within the legal ecosystem, given where we are. And we'll continue to do that. And over the coming months, I'm excited that we're going to be, rolling out a bunch of announcements around service providers, people that integrate with us, and, broader solutions providers as well. Because we want to really create an open and connected environment with, as I say, continuing to build on that robust library of open APIs and provide our customers the ability to choose what they want to do with that platform, right? We're not a walled garden. We need to be open and transparent about how we do that. And that's really the focus that we'll have moving forward.
Awesome. What about your Microsoft partnership? So we are married to, our solution runs exclusively on the M365 platform inside our client's tenant. We make heavy use of Azure and the Power Platform, SharePoint Online, the Office Graph. Like, we are neck deep. So what about for you guys? Is there a partnership there? Is it active? What's it look like?
Yep. So Microsoft is a key strategic partner of Elite, and we have a number of strategic initiatives with them. So Azure is our cloud provider, and so we're inside Azure for 3E and eBilling Hub. As a premium partner with them, we get sneak peeks at new technology that help them prioritize certain features and so on. And look, we've chosen to be, wedded, probably as you have, with Microsoft, because most of our law, not all, but most law firms use Microsoft as well and their suite of products. And so we understand the technology that they're using and the challenges that they face. And one of the really exciting things about moving to the cloud is that as they begin to embrace the Power Platform that you mentioned, that we really support extending 3E solution workflows and applications, even chatbots, directly into 3E. So it's low code, no code with a Power Platform, with the connectors, so that we can actually extend the experience of 3E into wherever they have on that platform moving forward.
Interesting. Yeah, we actually do that today. So we stand up InfoDash as kind of two components: our front end components that where you build experiences, and then we have an API that we deploy in Azure and integrates with all the back office systems, and then they can consume that data in the Power Platform. So they could build flows in Power Automate, including with Elite. So let's say they wanted to set up a Power Automate flow to kick off a workflow when a new matter is provisioned in Elite. They can do that today with our platform, which is great. So we have found it's interesting. Like we give it away today. It's just kind of part of the package. And we've had some customers tell us, you know what, I'm glad you're not charging me for this because you probably could. And there is tremendous value there. Allowing, because that's a big, law firms are not really equipped. They're not really structured with deep dev benches. It's just not, I mean, candidly, if you're a rock star developer, right, that's law firm's probably not the first place that you're going to choose, right? They're probably working on some older technologies. And so, retention and things have settled down now, but 2-3 years ago, I mean, holding on to your tech talent, I mean, it was really, really difficult. So we had many, many clients that just kind of came to us and go, man, we need something out of the box. We're going to leverage your professional services. We don't want to do the work in-house because it's really hard to attract and even harder to retain talent for any industry, but especially legal, that tends to be a bit of a laggard. So I think there's tremendous opportunity. I'm excited to hear you guys are going down that path. Are there any plans to integrate with SharePoint or Teams?
So we've already done different integrations with Teams, which would be a great example of how you build a workflow or an event sequence through Teams, where nobody has to actually touch Elite in terms of 3E. They just get something in Teams. So we've used it for event notifications. We've got bots on Teams where you can ask questions of 3E, and those are the solutions that are pretty customizable to do a pathway. And you don't need to be a developer, right? It's a low code or no code workflow that you're building within the Power Platform. At this stage, we haven't done anything specifically within SharePoint, but the integration possibilities are certainly there because we've got that rich set of APIs that allows you to do whatever you might do. So possibility storing documents, updating a feed, getting notifications, whatever it might be, in terms of doing that is available right now. The people could do it in there. Well, and so it's actually one of the really exciting things. So you got AI and the data stuff that's the kind of buzzword, and everyone gets excited. For the end user, actually, this integration on the cloud is by far the most exciting thing. That you can keep a timekeeper completely out of our platform is fine.
Yes.
Right. Go to where their work is.
Yes. So, well, I'm thrilled to hear that you're not doing, because that's what we do. So it's great. They can call us, and we have out of the box drag and drop integrations with not just Elite but all the back office systems. And our value proposition is we try to be that single pane of glass. So, for example, if an attorney wanted to see a matter page, a complete holistic view of a matter, or let's use a client as an example. So, the engagement letters, the invoices, the financial metrics, the open matters, the legal team, the client team, we bring all those. It's probably 6, 7, 8 different data sources. We allow them to create a composed view, and Elite is a critical part of that picture. So, send them our way when they need SharePoint integration.
So we are, and look, this just gets back to your question on partners, right? We're not going to build those, right? We know what we're really good at, and and that's we can build the connectors through the API, so it's available, and then others can come in and build specifically for the law firm what they want, or the law firm can build it themselves.
Yeah,
but we want to make sure that we can enable that in an easy way.
Yeah, and it's good that you realize that, because there are vendors out there who do build those integrations, and then they're not properly documented, not properly supported, and people make investments in them, and then it doesn't always go well. So that is really good to hear that you guys know where your sandbox is. That's good stuff. Well, this has been phenomenal. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes. I know that I know me, I'll speak for myself. I've been really curious what's been going on. I get a little bit of news here and there. I saw the rebrand. I saw some of the org announcements and the new roles. And it's been, I think, for your customers and our audience, which is primarily knowledge management, innovation, IT folks. We have a pretty good distribution in that world. They're going to really enjoy hearing about what you guys have upcoming. And I really appreciate you spending a few minutes with me today to talk about that.
Well, Ted, thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here, and it's been great for me as well to have the conversation. So we're just getting going at Elite. So hopefully we can have more of those conversations with that community, because they're very important to us.
Excellent. Good deal. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining, Mark.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks, Ted. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Legal Innovation Spotlight. If you found value in this chat, hit the subscribe button to be notified when we release new episodes. We'd also really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate us and leave us a review wherever you're listening right now. Your feedback helps us provide you with top-notch content. Want to dive deeper into the world of legal innovation? Connect with us online at getinfo-.com, where you'll find additional resources and articles. You can also follow us on social media at getinfo- to stay updated on the latest news and insights in the field of legal tech and knowledge management. Once again, thank you for joining us today on Legal Innovation Spotlight, a fireside chat series hosted by Info-.